So some conflicts are between two people, and they may be because of a difference of personality, a difference in the way they communicate. So some people are very direct and very brief in what they say, and to another person who's more diplomatic, they can appear abrupt. So that difference in personality and communication can be a cause of conflict. Having different interests. So somebody might want one thing because it will increase their wealth and their well-being and those sorts of things, and then somebody else says, but I want this, and the two wants might seem conflicting. Like if somebody gets their way with one thing, the other person can't get their way, and they'll lose something. Sometimes there are conflicts in terms of beliefs, so political beliefs and religious beliefs might be some of them, or just ways in which different ideas about how you're going to do things, or different ideas about what people are capable of. So there can be all sorts of difference in belief, and there is also difference in culture. In other words, how we do things around here. So there can be conflicts over, when two families get together because the son and the daughter from different families have come together. Like what do you do at Christmas? And one family has one tradition, one family has another tradition, and it can be sometimes difficult to satisfy both. Or if you've come from a work culture where everything was very laid back and it was dressed down and there wasn't much of a hierarchy, and then you go into a situation with those ways of doing things into a very hierarchical place of work where there's a lot of command and control leadership, then that can cause conflict. Other kinds of conflicts are caused because of a difference in ethics, a difference about what people think is moral. So, for instance, some people think that you have to be married, and other people think it's okay to be in a relationship when you're not married. Or some people think that you can expect absolutely anything and everything of a person you employ, and other people think you have to be more reasonable and think about their work-life balance. So, it's thinking about, there can be a clash of ethics. And then there can be a clash inside ourselves in terms of things like, do we want to spend more time with family, or do we want to develop our career or our business? And sometimes those needs can conflict, and perhaps our family can think we don't spend enough time with them, or our clients can feel we don't spend enough time with them, or our colleagues, and that can cause a conflict. So you can also have conflicts within a group of people that are related to how they work together. So for instance, when a group of people, like a team, get together, they form a team. And then what tends to happen is that then they start storming. All those conflicts about different ways of doing things and different ways of communicating, all those sorts of things start to come out. And then after a while, if the development is done really well, then there's a time called norming, where we say, well, okay, we'll agree to work with each other in this way. And then that's a point at which the team can start really performing, because everything's running smoothly, the communication's working well, and so on. And you could translate that model to families as well. When people first get married, they have different expectations of what that marriage is going to be like and what they can expect of each other, and possibly some things they start storming about, they start arguing. And then after a while, they get to agree about how things are going to work, and then they can really bring out the best in each other and make that relationship fulfilling and passionate, and work together as a team. So conflict is often triggered because one group of people or feel that their interests are threatened by another, or one person thinks their interests are threatened by another. Sometimes people feel forced into conflict because they think they have to take sides. So in a marriage, perhaps the wife's family feel they have to take her side, and the husband's family feel they have to take his side, and that can cause conflicts. Or perhaps at work you may feel that your friendship with a colleague means you have to take their side in an argument, and it can blind people to the fact that there's actually maybe a win-win, that you don't have to add to the conflict by taking sides. You can actually be a force to get people together more. There are various responses to conflict that can either make them better or make them worse. So one is accommodating people, so placating, saying, "Oh, okay, you can have this, you can have this," because often what that happens is you train people to keep wanting more and taking more from you. Then you start to feel resentful, and you might explode, or you just walk away from the relationship. If you're one of those people who doesn't like to get into conflict with people. So accommodating can be a very negative approach, even though the intention is actually to calm things down. Avoiding is also a common response to conflict that can make it worse. So in other words, our behaviours and responses to conflict can create more conflict. And when people feel like you're not willing to talk to them, or you feel other people are not willing to talk through things and negotiate reasonably, that can add to the conflict. Compromising. We often talk, well, we must compromise, but I always think that that's where we both gain something, that's true, but we also both lose something, and it can cause us to feel a bit resentful still because of the things we've lost. And so I always think of that as at least the second best alternative to resolving conflict. And I would say that the best way to resolving conflict is to collaborate, to find a win-win. So everybody's interests and needs are on the table, and then you find a creative way of making sure everybody's needs and wants are met. And it's amazing how that can happen. I remember that I was talking to some friends, a couple who both wanted to go on holiday, but they wanted to go on different or they want to go to different places. So one wanted to go to Iceland and the other wanted to go to Italy. And you think, oh my goodness, they just better go on separate holidays, or perhaps they'll compromise and one can go to one place, or they can both go to one place one year and the following year they can go to another place. But actually, when I encouraged them to think about, well, what was it about those places that attracted them, they started to realize they had some common interests. So, for instance, they both love beautiful scenery and wildlife and sunny weather and exploration. And they realized that actually they could do that in lots of places. And so, and they could do that even if they went to Italy or if they went to Iceland. And so they were both then more willing to be open to doing what the other person wanted to do, and it became a resolved conflict. Neither of them had to compromise. So if you're finding that you're having to deal with conflicts in your life, whether they're in your personal relationships or your work relationships, I'd like to offer you a free discovery session, and we'll talk about those conflicts and some of the hidden barriers to resolving them. And then we'll look at how you'd like those relationships to be, and I'll share with you how I can help you bridge the gap between those two. And that's a free session, and you can book that at my website, www.buildingselfconfidence.co.uk, or my other website, successformanagers.co.uk, and we'll book a time over Skype or face-to-face, and we'll find some creative ways for you to move forward, and you'll feel excited and motivated and clear about your next steps. So I look forward to talking to you then.